Tonight on the South Today, university staff around the country took action arguing their case for better wages. Queenstown's mayor and two others took things to extreme heights, raising awareness for their cause. And 10 years of dedicated planting has returned a part of Wanaka back to nature as volunteers dig deep. Good evening. Thousands of university staff around the country walked off the job today in their first strike in 20 years. Tertiary Education Union members at 8 universities took the coordinated action, arguing their case for better wages.
Sustenance at a campus soup kitchen before angry Canterbury University staff marched on the Vice-Chancellor's office.
Your Vice-Chancellor is not offering enough money.
Tertiary Education Union teams are negotiating 18 collective agreements on behalf of their 7,000 members.
I find it very hard to look at staff and see that they're struggling to pay their bills, and it doesn't matter who you are. You're working at a university and you're not being paid what you're worth.
Staff are asking for an 8% pay increase over a one-year term to keep up with the Consumer Price Index.
What do we want? Fair pay. When do we want it? Now!
Moore says she won't rule out any more strike action.
We are keen to get back into bargaining, and we're very keen to get an improved offer and get something better for our members. Union
members will wear black on Monday to begin a further week of action. In Christchurch, the South Today.
The University Otago strike was cancelled today in Dunedin due to the snow. As well as putting stop to strike action, the snowy weather caused other issues across the South Island. From the hilltops to the sand dunes, the southern region woke to wintry vistas this morning. The unusually heavy October snowfall saw many highways closed overnight. Dunedin's hill suburbs were blanketed in snow, with treacherous driving conditions seeing many late for work and bus services cancelled until the afternoon. The bumper snowfall coinciding with school holiday season, allowing Southland kids and parents time to play in the snow. Christchurch was also treated to a dusting of snow from the Alps and also across the plains to Brighton Beach. Major highways opened by early afternoon, though some regional routes still remain closed. The sun eventually coming out just in time for the melting snow to be captured by this family. It's sometimes amazing the lengths, or in case heights, some people will go to. Departing Queenstown Mayor Jim Bolt and two others leapt out of the sky, raising awareness for their cause.
Making sure their point doesn't fall flat. A trio of southern high flyers leaping out of a perfectly good airplane, drawing attention to a zoning issue which they say is forcing some residents into financial hardship. Happy to touch down on terra firma, outgoing Queenstown Mayor Jim Bolt says it's a piece of red tape which needs to be cut.
The amount of money that's available from the accommodation supplement in these areas is a fraction of what you could get if you lived in, I don't know, Fernhill, for example.
Mayor Bolt's landing wasn't exactly textbook, but he says the government needs to change its stance. So nearby residents beside Jack's Point can apply for government financial assistance. His thoughts are echoed by Queenstown's Salvation Army.
But the legislation is so outdated now that places all around the country are in the same boat as us.
Wilson says there are too many residential areas still zoned rural for accommodation supplements, with Wanaka and all of Invercargill making the list. The skydive was the launch event for the Peeps Not Sheeps campaign, which will see a petition delivered to Parliament at a later date. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Queenstown may soon have electric scooters whizzing along its footpaths, and not everyone is happy about it. The Queenstown Lakes District Council has considered introducing the rental service before, but has shelved proposed trial by Lime scooters back in 2019. E-scooter company Beam Mobility is planning to bring 300 purple-powered scooters to Queenstown streets and says the council broadly endorses their plans. Not everyone is happy about the trial. Some local businesses have labelled them a hazard and say the streets are busy enough as it is. Fire and Emergency New Zealand will fail to meet emissions targets set by government, according to new information. Documents released to the Otago Daily Times under the Official Information Act show FENZ will be forced to rely on carbon offsetting following years of delayed planning. The nation's firefighting appliances often have large diesel motors, with their emissions contributing to carbon pollution. Notes from a September 2020 meeting show there was no money allocated to developing a climate change plan in June of that year, despite requests to develop an action plan as far back as 2018. The delays are thought to be due to COVID-19 prioritisation, with about $180,000 now allocated to restart the work. A Wanaka tourism operator and a local conservation trust are working together to return a small part of Wanaka back to nature. After 10 years of dedicated planting, a small native forest is now showing up along the lake's shore.
Clearing the weeds to help a forest flourish. The Mount Aspiring lookout at Glendhu Bay is looking a lot greener than it used to, thanks to the effort of these volunteers. Planting started exactly a decade ago and was inspired by a local tour operator who wanted to give something back to the community.
Every person that comes out on a safari with us actually contributes to this project. So one trip per person, one tree per person.
The Te Kakano Trust Community Nursery provided the native trees for this project, with Trust members delighted to see the locally sourced seedlings slowly taking over the former pasture land.
Now we've got a little forest, which is pretty cool, especially the red beech, because these came from seeds from up the Fernburn.
The Trust say that although it's a lot of hard work keeping the weeds at bay, eventually the forest canopy will spread and natural regeneration will take over. In Wanaka, The South Today.
Whai Akine, still to come on The South Today. A Christchurch model show attracts enthusiasts from all around the country after a 3-year hiatus, and one organisation is giving southern teens options and support following a tragic accident.
Better get down to John's Furniture Warehouse this weekend. It's a price rampage. And you can pay it off over 18 months interest free. Price rampage.
And my mate John.
Every day the team at Gillian supports grieving families at their time of need, from answering your questions to organising a farewell that reflects the wishes of your loved one. We can help. Call Gillian's today.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Welcome back. After a 3-year hiatus, Christchurch's model train show has returned. The event attracting enthusiasts from across the country who have had a lot of time to prepare thanks to the pandemic.
3 years in the making and it's finally back on track. The big model train show was held in Christchurch recently, with local model train enthusiasts more than ready for the event due to the pandemic.
We were told to stay at our homes. We were told to not go anywhere. So us train guys went to our train sheds. And look what we built during the lockdowns.
The recent show was one of the biggest Stevenson had ever been involved in and included many newly minted contributions from South Island enthusiasts.
Well, I think the Glacier Express was my favourite thing, and then I tried to simulate a little bit of the mountains and the gondolas, countryside, just to have fun and have a holiday.
Stevenson said the introduction of digital technology has revolutionised the craft of model railroading, making the pastime more accessible and increasing the creative options.
You know something? It's been the biggest growth hobby during lockdown worldwide.
He says the organisers were excited to learn the layout guys were thrilled to be back in the show and to see so many families from all age groups enjoying the spectacle. In Christchurch, the South Today.
Southern teenagers are being given options and support from an organisation which came to light following a tragic accident. Rangatahi Zone has leaders from the Turarama Trust working with teens, helping them to see a way forward.
Making sure young people stay on target. Invercargill's Turarama Trust is trying to raise the spirits and encourage Southern teens to have a positive future focus. The initiative came about following this year's horrific event.
Back in April we had a bit of a tragedy with 4 young men from Bluff and Invercargill passed away, and we're looking to reach out to our young people, to their friends, to their whānau, and sort of just put on a nice positive environment for them to come together.
Coot says Rangatahi Zone is aimed at helping Southern teens cope with the grief of losing 4 of their number this year and giving them a chance to experience new things. The inaugural Rangatahi Zone continues in Bluff until Friday. In Bluff, the South Today.
And now, recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. Tertiary Education Union members went on strike for the first time in 20 years, arguing for better wages. Queenstown Mayor Jim Bolt and 2 others went skydiving, raising awareness for zoning issues in the region. And Wanaka now has a small native forest along the lake's shore after a decade of planting by volunteers. And now a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT with editor Barry Stewart.
Hello Simon. Well, the snow did arrive as predicted, but fruit growers in Central Otago are a little stressed as to the result of that. So early days yet, but we're waiting the outcome of that to see how they fared. Wanaka, warbirds over Wanaka, say costs from the failed legal case were covered by insurance, so it's all go for 2024 for the next warbirds over Wanaka, and they're pretty confident that they're in good stead for a good event. So that's exciting. And exciting also is our sports lift out today, where we feature a special on the Women's Rugby World Cup. So we have a look at all the teams and make some predictions, and we have a guide for you to figure out who you're going to watch and when you're going to watch it. And of course the first match kicks off on Saturday, Black Ferns versus Australia in Auckland. So something to look forward to there.
Plenty of absorbing reading.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Barry.
Thank you.
And time now for a look at tomorrow's weather.
The South Today weather, proudly brought to you by MoleMap, the skin cancer detection specialists.
Looking at the situation, showers clearing from the coasts with frosts forming inland tonight, continuing through to tomorrow. Heading to the top of the South Island, it's fine with light winds and 14 up in Nelson and Greymouth tomorrow. Christchurch is also fine with moderate sou'westerlies and a high of 12 degrees. Travelling to South Canterbury and North Otago, more sou'westerlies and fine weather all the way through here. 13 both for Ashburton and Timaru. Slightly colder in Oamaru, you're heading for 12 degrees. Heading westwards to the Central Lakes, it's fine with light winds for both Wanaka and Alexandra tomorrow with a high of 15. Similar weather in Queenstown, but it's just a touch cooler on 14 degrees. Heading further south, the light winds continuing with Balclutha and Gore both fine, heading towards 14. More of the same for the Caitlin's, but with a high of 13 degrees. And down to the deep south, some cloud remaining tonight with cold southerlies in Invercargill, with another brisk night ahead dropping to 0 degrees. Tomorrow becoming fine and sunny with cold sou'westerlies dying out. You'll be in for a frosty night with a high of 11 and a low of -2 degrees. Fine with sunny periods and some high cloud on Saturday, milder with moderate northerlies jumping up to a high of 15. And finally, heading to Dunedin, cloudy tonight with breezy cold sou'westerlies decreasing, dropping down to just 2 degrees. Fine tomorrow with some cloud but sunny periods increasing. Sou'westerlies ebbing late in the day with a high of 11. Light the fire as you prepare for another frosty night with a low of -2 degrees. Sunny and milder on Saturday with moderate nor'easterlies developing throughout the day and a high of 15 degrees. And that's the news this Thursday. For the latest news and videos from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again tomorrow. Ka kite a popo.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.